out in Brookfield, Illinois. We are here for a very special event tonight. It is the premiere of the Spectre Files Deathstalker game, which has had such a tremendous history to it. And we have Brian Cullen here to thank for making this tremendous game. And we're going to hear a little bit of the history. We're going to see some fan reactions from it. Tonight is all about Spectre Files, the Deathstalkers. So Brian, thank you so much for coming.
Oh man, my pleasure, Doc. Thank you for making this thing a reality. It is literally 30 years in the making. Got 30 years ago when Laserdisc hit, I was doing a lot of art on games back at Midway, and they had some pretty god-awful Laserdisc games that they had licensed. And I said, give me a small budget, and I can do this. We went out and did a demo, and it's basically we're going to do an interactive film. They liked it. They gave me a very small budget. So I enlisted the help of volunteer actors all over Chicagoland by putting an ad in the paper saying vampires wanted, no experience necessary. We rented an abandoned mental institution on the north side of Chicago, which had electricity, 13 floors, electricity, but no heat on the coldest February on record. I mean, literally, when we were shooting this in there, we would have to cut because the actor's breath would freeze on the ceiling, and then when we turned the lights on, it would condense and start falling down and turn into snow in the room, okay? But we got through it all, and took about 6 months to edit. It's a little over an hour of pure footage, but by the time we were done editing the film, the company was out of the disc business because they had a snafu. They tried to save money on a different game by using video disc instead of laser disc, which video disc has a needle, and
Yes.
bam, you hit it, it turns into a giant doorstop. So it sat idle forever. I kept the 16 millimeter cans in my basement, and I made the fortuitous mistake one day of mentioning it to Doc, and Doc says, well, could you finish it? Could we restore it? And it's like, well, if you're willing to try, I'm willing to try. And we have restored the game that was never completed, Spectre Files, Deathstalker.
And you had shot this back in around 1984. The only video that was available of it initially was on YouTube. You had the music video.
Right, the
which
music video.
You've incorporated into the game now. Like, you can watch that. And
Right.
Just seeing just that video, you can see that your very iconic sense of humor is laced and weaved throughout this game from start to finish.
It is, if by iconic sense of humor you mean terrible puns, then yes. And a plot that doesn't make much sense. But yeah, it was a tribute to every bad horror film ever made, and I think we really captured the bad. Okay, I think it is I mean, and then as a game, as a freestanding arcade game here at the Ghost, you can come up, you can just play the music video anytime you want and get a feel for what this thing is. Jim Roos and the band Triana did a fantastic job of creating the theme song for this. I mean, you got to agree, that's a tremendous theme song.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Deathstalker. And then, of course, playing here at the Ghost is free, as always. And but plan on putting in some time. This is a game that, unlike instant decisions that kill you in some other Laserdisc games, this is a game that requires watching and thought and what do I really want to do in this situation? So you can play for quite a long time. There's no one right way to solve the game, but there's a million ways to die. So it is now at long last fully functional, ready to go. And this is the debut tonight.
This is the debut. I believe we've been kind of discussing a full release a little bit later, but the debut today, we're going to let everybody play it. Doing some testing on it, it was just surprising how many options you have, how many paths there are, and at the end,
Ladies
Can
and
you-
gentlemen, count your Chikunski.
there you go.
Oh, yeah, baby.
You may not know me, but I definitely know you.
Can you tell us a little bit about the count here?
Well, I don't want to give too much away, but yes, the Count is the true master of the Der Hatchet Institute. The Der Hatchet Institute for the Extremely Bizarre is the setting for this. Basically, it's a hard-boiled detective story in which you're looking for the missing girl, Buffy MacGuffin. And the trail will lead you to the Der Hatchet Institute. You'll meet Baron Der Hatchet, and if you're extremely unlucky, you'll meet Count Yorchikunski.
That is so. It was so fun trying to figure out how to get through everything, and there's still, for myself, there's still a lot I haven't seen. Just thank you so much for finishing this, and I know you've had people ask for it over the years, and I have not been disappointed at all. And it's everybody, when we were play testing it, just having a lot of laughs. It's just a genuinely fun game. Great, a lot of humor behind it. It's just amazing. And
Well, I had a ball. I had a ball recreating it because basically that's what we did. We had the footage, but we had to kind of recreate it from scratch. The making of this was a riot and a ton of fun 30 years ago, and full of story after story. All of these great actors volunteered their times. I mean, students took off semester to work on this and literally live in my attic while they were editing.
how long were you filming for?
We filmed for about a month.
About a month.
About a month, yeah. We did some pickup later on, but for the most part, we filmed everything. We had this property for 1 month, and so we set fire to it. Thank God we got it put out, but the 13th floor went up in flames, and you'll see evidence of that in here. Now, here's a little trick for those of you thinking of making a low-budget film. A little bit of kerosene gives you a nice, slow, even burn, but when the director is standing there saying, "No, we want a little more, and we want a little more," so they're splashing a little more, remember that everything that's not right there in front of your frame is collecting in a pool on the floor, and then it's like, okay, that's about right, and then the whole wall goes up. So don't try that at home, okay? We had a lot of fun making this.
Do you have a particular favorite character from the game?
Psycho Mama is my favorite character. Mama's boy in the laundry room and in the kitchen. You'll meet him/her, and yeah, they're a wonderful couple. A boy and his mother. Actually, Sharon was beautiful. Sharon put the bow on Miss Pac-Man, and that's her right there. Sharon Barr Perry, animator artist at Midway back in the day.
Put the bow on Ms. Pac-Man.
She put the bow on Ms. Pac-Man, right. That was her first job as an artist at Midway. And she was kind enough to lend us her fangs for this movie. Sharon, if you're out there watching, I apologize for identifying you.
Should we have somebody play?
Please, yeah, come on up.
Who should be first? You want to pick somebody? You want the count
And
to play?
Would anyone like to give this a try? Step up and volunteer and humiliate both me and yourself in public. Oh, please. Now, I don't know if you've been watching, but basically it's pretty simple. You hit the green button to start, and then make a choice whatever it asks you to make a choice.
It's one that you definitely have to listen to.
Yeah, you'll
the
want to get up
audio
close
is
because it's kind of loud.
extremely
in here.
important on this game. It's all very story-driven, almost like other Laserdisc games like Dragon's Lair, where it's almost an action-reaction, but here you're answering questions, you're giving 3 choices, A, B, or C, and it leads you down this wild path and takes you might
Learn 2 things.
sometimes you might get items, sometimes you might
First,
not,
always
depends
keep
on
your
what road you
files
take.
neat and orderly. And second, A case that involves a missing blonde will inevitably drive you to drink. Still, something about this case intrigued me. Besides, I was between clients at the time, and certain bill collectors were starting to get ugly. The paper said she was last seen in Hatchet Hollow, walking her chihuahua through a nearby graveyard. Not much to go on, but I had to start somewhere.
Ed, there's a gentleman out here to see you. It looks like he wants money. Do you want me to show him in, or do you want to go out the window again?
You have the first choice. There's a gentleman here to see you. Will you meet the gentleman, hide your wallet, or shout, "I'm not here"? There's a bar at the bottom that has a timer that's counting down. If it runs down all the way down, it's game over. Any choice. There's some right ones, there's some wrong ones.
The faster you hit the button, the more points you get.
Good cause.
All proceeds go to the orphanage and are, of course, tax deductible. I don't mean to pry, but your secretary mentioned that you might be driving out to Hatchet Hollow tonight. It's a very evil place. I want you to have this. It may save your life. It's a vial of holy water. $12. Tax deductible.
Now, in this case, he just, by seeing the gentleman who was waiting for him, he just bought a vial of holy water. That may come in useful later. And now he's got to decide whether he wants to look for another client, go find the missing girl, or have another drink. Good.
Take a hike, sweetheart.
He wanted money, all right.
Spectre, Mr. Vasilini wants to give you 5 good reasons why you should pay him the money tonight.
As I slowly regained consciousness, I was touched by my secretary's concern.
Ed, are you all right?
Poor kid was crazy about me.
Don't you think you ought to start looking for that girl? I mean, I'd like to get paid this week too, you know.
So the second client was actually a goon from the loan shark that detective owes money. He got a little warning there that he's got to pay that money tonight. So our player has just now reached the Hatchet Institute.
It was founded by a Nobel Prize-winning scientist who disappeared in the late 50s, leaving the place deserted for nearly 30 years. I walked up the creaking front steps and turned the knob.
I remember you saying there was a miniature of the house?
Locked.
That's what you were looking at.
That was an actual miniature right there.
Yeah, that house shot we saw was a miniature, but that's only stood about 3 feet tall.
There was a key that fit the front door under
So
the
he
mat.
looked under the mat there. You can go around back. Several
The
options.
stench was
And
awful.
here, there was a
It
key
was
under
like
the mat.
entering a tomb.
So he's let himself in.
There were rotting stairs to my right and a room to my left, and I felt a cold chill on the back of my neck.
Go right, go left, or turn around quickly. He's got to decide.
I whirled about in time to see the wind slam the door shut. Then I realized I wasn't alone. I bid a fond farewell to the fanged femme fatale and ran up the stairs. I paused to see if I was being followed. I was. My fear faded as I fled. I felt fine till I fell. So I flipped over and found I'd been followed by a fanged femme fatale with a fried finger. I hated to be rude, but sometimes you got no choice. As I stood up, a strange mist started to come in from under the door. The only other door led to a closet.
Going for the candle.
Before I could grab the candle, the vampiress materialized in a cloud of dry ice.
Her fangs gently slice into your earlobe and you black out. Number 1.
I don't know how long I was out, but someone or something had dragged me to a cellar below Der Hatchet Manor. As I struggled to clear my head, I clicked on my flashlight and looked around. Any fool could see that the place had more than its share of dingbats, and I was no exception. It was there, in the cellar, that I discovered the little man with the evil grin.
Which one was first?
I informed the Count of your arrival. He insists that you stay.
I don't know if everybody heard that, but Brian was actually working on Zawackery at the exact same time he was working on this. Dual running 2 projects. Here we have him finding Laughing Boy.
He fell for it, so I took the opportunity to bash him in the chops. I never hit a man when he's down, but I knew I should have made an exception when I felt his fingers on my throat. I flipped him into his coal bin and ran into the darkness. I found myself ascending a steep, circular stairway when a green ghoul in a rented tuxedo made a dramatic entrance.
Again, for those just joining us, we are watching the Spectre Files Deathstalkers, which we've just released and will now be
I
on the
approached
floor
the
here at
zombie
Galloping Ghost Arcade. This
reluctantly
was an
and asked him who his
unfinished
tailor was.
Laserdisc game from 1984,
His
created by
response
the
was to
legendary
push me
Brian
backwards
Cohen,
into a
who worked on
rickety
so
old
many
freight
great
elevator.
classic arcade games like Rampage and Xenophobe, Arch Rivals, Pigskin, Zawackery. Just such an impressive resume of games that so many people have loved. This was one that he worked on, and you can see it
First floor,
in and out on this
everybody
game.
out.
It's
Watch
his
the
sense of
door.
We
humor
arrived on
behind
the
it.
first floor and I got off.
He does make a cameo in it as well.
Well, that
Maybe
was
a
a
few.
highly paid professional actor and narrator that I was able to convince to lend his talents to this. And don't say who.
The room was crawling with vermin. It was one of Vasilini's boys.
Spectre, you're a hard man to locate.
The thug from the office has found him here at Der Hatchet Institute.
Time's up, Gumshoe. Mr. Vasilini's authorized me to pick up on all outstanding home improvement.
I wondered if I should warn him.
What do you think, I'm stupid?
It got him,
No.
whatever it was. I grabbed the gun and ran into the next room. The next room I came to had nothing in it but a bottle of clear liquid. Suddenly, the walls started tumbling down. Smashing through the wall was my buddy the gangster, now some kind of zombie.
Now to tell you the depth to this game, I've been playing this game for a while, and I have not even seen this. I have not seen this.
I ran down the hall straight into the arms of the zombie gangster.
Blackout number 2.
I woke up with the feeling that I was at the end of my rope. When I realized that I was fit to be tied. The situation was bad and my life hung in the balance. But this was no time for reflection.
Ah, Mr. Spectre. Did you have a nice nap? I'm so glad you decided to hang around. Well, the only reason why you're alive is because the master prefers a hot lunch to cold cuts.
I was trying to think of a diversion when I lost my footing. The whole world started to slip away as the rope bit into my neck. When I got up, I saw that the pipe had made quite an impression on Laughing Boy.
I don't know why every time I see that scene, I point out how well acted that is. There is terror of the ceiling coming in on him.
The people that volunteered to do this really put everything they had into it. My one regret, and we will find it, is in the files I had a list of every actor and actress that volunteered for that, but I haven't been able to find it in those old buried files back in storage. Oh, he went looking for trouble.
As I reached forward, the candle lit itself, and as if by magic, a monk appeared. I extinguished the candle in a glass of the house vino, and the phantom friar gave up the ghost.
Nicely done.
The Prophet's Prophets.
What floor, please?
Our player has just made the bold move to explore another floor.
The room I next entered was obviously a library of some sort. There was a door to my left, another dead ahead, but most of the action was taking place in the kitchen on my right, where someone was practicing a bizarre form of culinary preparation. Someone had left a fire burning. The room was dark, so I lifted the shade to allow some moonlight to filter in.
You mind? Vladimir told me I would not be disturbed. I suppose an evening of intellectual stimulation tucked away from that dog-eat-dog world is simply too much to ask.
I stepped forward, fully intending to teach him some manners. But you know what they say about teaching an old dog new tricks.
The first of several werewolves in this game, if he lives through it.
Once back in the library, I glanced back. It seemed to be waiting for me to do something. I grabbed a stick and whistled a few times. I tossed it into a closet and slammed the door shut.
So good.
I couldn't put my finger on it, but there was something odd about the woman in the kitchen.
If you're hungry, get it yourself! There ain't no room service in this hotel!
I think maybe it was her 3-day beard. Inside the cupboard was a rose, a clove of garlic, and a couple of potatoes.
Again, for those just joining us, we are watching the Spectre Files Deathstalkers, an unfinished
I
game
reached
from
in and took the clove of
1984
garlic.
that has now been finished thanks to its creator, Brian Cohen, who was the creator of so many other classic arcade games such as Rampage, Xenophobe, Zawackery, Pigskin, 621 AD, Arch Rivals, so many other great games that Brian
I
has done over the
tiptoed
years.
out of the kitchen
this is
and
one
left her
that,
to her
he
work.
worked on back in
A
1984,
faint breeze
and it
carried a
just,
musty
was
odor to
never
my
finished.
sensitive nostrils.
And fortunately, we were able to talk him into finishing it up. And now it is here for everybody to enjoy only at the Galloping Ghost Arcade currently.
This room seemed to be a lavatory. There was something odd about it, and then I realized what it was. The room smelled like wet dog. Suddenly, I realized that someone was coming up behind me. Thinking quickly, I stepped into the shower and pulled the curtain closed. A hairy paw reached in and turned on the water. I peered around the corner and saw a she-wolf busily primping herself for a night on the town. I stayed hidden, but not for long.
So close, so close. Was that your second or third blackout? Oh my.
Someone or something was sitting across the attic from me.
At long last, the detective decides to pay a visit. to his host. Have you enjoyed our
This will be here on
hospitality
the
so
arcade
far?
floor permanently now, even through testing.
It was difficult not to listen.
A little bit
His
more
voice
testing to be
had a
done, but
strong
it is pretty
hypnotic
close,
effect.
so it will be here for everybody to play.
You don't know me, but I know you.
Each time you lapse in consciousness, I get to know you a little better.
Come, sit, drink with me. It's something I picked out close to your heart.
That was my blood he was sucking on. My pockets were empty.
I took the liberty of removing everything from your pockets.
This was Count Yorchakunsky. I knew I had failed when I looked into his eyes. I was powerless to resist him.
Then here on the post-mortem, you get a wrap-up. Brian did great there. He got really far within the game, saw the count, but it tells you of your fate.
That was a surprisingly great first game. You made it quite. Now, one thing I wanted to do when we designed this was I hated games that brought you so far and then left you finished. So every time you play this game, it's a complete story. It may not be a victory, it may not be solving the mystery, but you will always get an ending to your story. And unfortunately, you died in the end, but you know, you did a heck of a job and you should be darn proud of how far you got.
Well,
thank you very much for playing.
Ghost coin for your first playthrough, man. Congratulations.
Oh, man, that's the valuable Galloping Ghost coin
Yes,
I've been
it is.
seeing so much about. Very cool. Thanks a lot.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much, man. Congrats, man. So, again, he did great.
Yeah, he did. I was amazed.
So definitely, and again, there's so many different paths and so many different characters. Was there anything that you wanted to do when you were filming this that either didn't have the budget for or thought of later after you were done filming?
After we set fire to the one room, I wanted to ask the same guy who did the miniature house to do a miniature dragon, because I wanted to do like a Spot character from the Munsters.
Really?
And that didn't get finished. It was fun with this because the silliness of the story let us go in all kinds of directions. As long as he played on that first game, he probably still saw less than a tenth of what's in this game.
Absolutely.
Here, at the end of the game, we also tell you how many clues you've picked up, how many encounters you stumbled across, how many items. And there's about, I want to say, 60 different items, clues, encounters, spaces that you can visit. Looping all through the games and the building, the grounds around the building, everywhere from the roof to the sub-basement. And we filled it all with a lot of silly, cheap thrills, low-budget horror kind of stuff.
Absolutely amazing. Again, this was shot on 16 millimeter?
16 millimeter film, right.
The process of getting that converted from 16 millimeter, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I said, Doc, I need this much money to get it converted, and he said, okay, and wrote the check.
Well, we have you at the...
Well, this is the Steenbeck. This is what the thing was originally edited on. And I actually had to go back and find the original 16 and some of the original sound. And there's very few of these monsters left in the world. back in the day, I rented one and put one in my home for the 6 months that we were editing this. I had a hard time just finding a Steenbeck flatbed editing table for 16 millimeter film here in Chicago. But fortunately, the Chicago filmmakers, I can't think of their name. Oh, and I want to plug I think it was called Be Something Studios back in the day. They were kind enough to give us all of the masks, all of the Halloween junk format. And I think they might be Zagone Studios here in Chicago still. They're still in business, as evidenced by the fact that Doc was able to find Count Yorchikunsky in mask form, and that's who visited us here earlier.
Yes.
So they're still in business. Thank you, guys. I'm really sorry it took so long to... But that was good promotional money spent, wasn't it? Because here we are, and it's out here now.
I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this. I think there's a lot to it. There's a scoring element to it, so I think a lot of the players are going to be playing it over and over and over and over and over again, trying to find everything that you've got hidden in here and try to find all the items and characters, and there's a lot to it. Like, how much footage is there?
Well, there's over an hour of footage, and in time, there's over an hour. Some of the areas you visit twice with different soundtracks because it's the same room, but we put a different soundtrack behind it depending on when you're there the first time, or your second visit, or your third visit, as you crisscross through the hallways and run up and down the stairways. In terms of scoring, there's several different ways to score, so you can achieve a fairly high score, but only the people that solve the mystery in one of the half dozen different ways there is to solve the mystery ever get on the high score page. And then, so once you do that, then you may want to go back and explore other rooms to get those other items to get even more points.
That's awesome. And when we were discussing doing this, it was going to be important to pick a cabinet for it. And this was the cabinet for this game we ended up using was the NFL football CED disc game cabinet. I happened to find one in a warehouse and thought it's probably what they would have used as the cabinet style.
Well, and it's particularly appropriate because the NFL football game was the one they tried the video disc in that brought down their whole disc division anyway.
Right.
So, I mean, it's perfect. That was your idea. That was all you.
Well, I'm so happy that you were on board with that. We talked a little bit more about a deluxe cabinet. Maybe we'll eventually see that.
We've got a few features that once we got the thing in here and started testing, that Doc and his team made a lot of good suggestions that we're gonna sneak in here in the coming weeks and months. Yeah, no, this is the game. This is the film, interactive film, and I hope you all enjoy it.
Well, I think everybody very much will. I really want to thank you for everything, and an amazing game. Another great addition to your catalog of amazing arcade games. And again, the games that you've created now provide, even now, I see it 7 days a week. People love playing your games, and families having fun on them, and just memories being created every single day here. And I know this one will do the same. It's even for us at the offices when we're play testing it, we were having such a good time just sitting around, laughing, watching it. And congratulations and thank you for everything that you've done for the arcade industry
This is another one-of-a-kind, only one in the world. Doc has, 3 of mine that are the only ones in the world now?
Yep, we have RC Squared and
Team Laser.
Team Laser.
And now, Spectre Files, Deathstalker.
So cool. So thank you so much, Brian Cullen. Again, I'm sure we're going to be streaming for a while. We'll be having people come up and play it, and I'm sure watching the music video and see what else they can find in the game. But we're going to cut the local record now. So thanks, everybody, for Brian Cullen. Thank you again so much.
My pleasure.
Come play Spectre Files, the Deathstalkers. Thanks, everybody. Keep the regular stream going. We'll just stop the regular record, the local.